So targeting SC, SSC, CGL, CHSL is the prime important in this class. Along with that, other government exams also, general awareness area, polity questions, polity and governance related questions, you can make use of that. The class is in English medium. So Indian polity from the Lakshmikant, generally we follow most of the content here. So next one is right to freedom of religion. So article 25 to 28, it's more about the religious freedom that's mentioned in this constitution articles and all. Article 25. So what all religious freedom article 25 is ensuring to us? Freedom of conscience. So freedom of conscience, free of profession, practice, propagation of religion. So you can believe in any religion that you want, whether it is Christianity, Hinduism, Islam or Buddhism, Jainism or your own religion, you can believe it. And you can profess that to others. So you can tell others, okay, this is good religion, this is best religion, these are the features of this religion, these are the scriptures of this religion. If you are believing in this, you will get actually some result from that. You can actually practice, profess that. And you can practice your religion, you can propagate your religion. So subject to public order, morality and health. So public order, morality and health, and to other provisions of this part. So subject to public order and morality and health and other provisions of this part, all persons are equally entitled to freedom of conscience and right freely to profess, practice and propagate the religion. Are you getting it? So all persons are equally entitled to the freedom of conscience and the right to freely profess it, practice it and propagate this religion. Nothing in this article shall affect the operation of any existing law that is preventing the state from making any law. So in this article, whatever it is there, it is not actually preventing the state from operating any law, that is economic, financial, political, secular activity which are associated with the religion. That is possible. Okay, and at the same time the government can take all this modern approach to the religions. So this caste differentiation and all that is prevalent in the religion should be stopped. So if a particular temple is for Hindus, means that is for all the Hindus, not for a particular caste and all. So that casteism is actually abolished, we have seen. So your religious belief, that never means you can propagate some unfairly practices. You cannot say that I am discriminating this section, no, that is not allowed here. Okay. Article 26, freedom to manage religious affairs, subject to public order, morality and health. Every religious domination or any section thereof shall have the right to establish and maintain institution for religious and charitable purpose. For religious and charitable purpose, you can establish and you can maintain institutions. Manage its own affairs in matters of religion. So in matters of religion, you can manage its affairs. So you can own and you can acquire movable also, immovable property also. So administer such property in accordance with the law. So as the law existing in that country, definitely you can acquire the property for the institution, for your religion, and you can dispose that, you can give to anyone, you can give money to anyone. That's all are actually your own affairs. State won't interfere in that. Article 27, Article 28. Freedom as to payment of taxes for promotion of any particular religion. Freedom as to payment of taxes for promotion of any particular religion. So no person shall be compelled to pay any taxes, proceeds of which specifically appropriated in payment of expenses for the promotion or maintenance of any particular religion or religious denomination. So the state cannot say, since you are from Christian community, you should pay this much taxes, that is more than the other community. No, not at all. The meaning of this particular article is, state cannot differentiate one religion from the another one. State cannot say you are a supporter of this religion, you should pay more. No, not at all. So earlier under the Mughal kingdom, so this kind of differentiation was there. For the Hindu pilgrimages and all, they have charged some extra taxes and all from there in order to visit the religious purposes. So this Mughal kingdom always supported the Islamist religion, and that is one of the reason for the spread of Islam in our North Indian country, North Indian states. Article 28, that is associated with the freedom to as to the attendance at a religious instruction or religious worship in certain educational institution. No religious instruction shall be provided in any educational institution wholly maintained out of the state funds. So if it is a government school, there cannot be any religious instruction, whatever the religion be. And if any particular education institution that is properly funded by the government, that is aided institutions are there, no? Their instructions okay, but the prior permission of the guardian is required. But in the case of private institutions that is run by the churches, other temples and all, they can give their own religious promotion there, no issue. Now comes to the cultural and educational right, Article 29 and Article 30. So Article 29 says about the protection of interest of minorities. So any section of citizen residing in the territory of India, any part, if it has a distinct language, it has a distinct script or culture, it has a right to protect that. Fine. Suppose if you are taking the Tamil Nadu state, it's a one border is actually Karnataka people, one border it is Kerala people. So definitely some people exist there. So for them, this state needs to provide the provision for their own language protection, script protection. So no citizen shall be denied admission into any educational institution maintained by the state or receiving aid out of the state funds on the ground only of religion, race, caste, language, any of them. Okay. Then comes Article 30. Right of minorities to establish and administer educational institutions. Here not the linguistic minorities, here not just the linguistic minorities, linguistic and religious minorities, they can actually start an educational institution and administer education there with their own pattern. It's okay, fine there. It's okay. Now comes to the next sets of rights, that's in Article 32. Right to constitutional remedies. So Article 32 is the soul of the fundamental rights, in the sense without Article 32 you cannot enjoy your fundamental right at all. Why? Because the fundamental rights are protected, needs to be protected, then only it has any relevance at all. So the Supreme Court, you can approach the Supreme Court whenever your rights are being infringed, being violated. So Supreme Court, by issuing different orders or writs, it can protect our fundamental rights. Example of some writs are habeas corpus, mandamus, prohibition, quo warranto and certiorari. So what is habeas corpus? Habeas corpus means have the body of. So the court will ask the police to produce that person there. So personally they needs to be there. So that person needs to give directly present and needs to speak with the court that I am not detained by any illegal entity. I am not detained by my family. I am not detained by my lover, my husband. So habeas corpus means illegal detention is prevented by the usage of habeas corpus. Mandamus. Mandamus is an order. Mandamus is an order by the court to the subordinating authority. Subordinating authority in the sense it might be the lower courts, it might be any public functionaries like water department, KSEB. To them the court will order that perform your public duty. You have some public duties to perform, perform that. Give water properly, give electricity properly, like that. Prohibition and certiorari. So prohibition and certiorari issued by the higher courts to the lower courts or the tribunals. Okay, lower courts or to the tribunal. Why? So in order to prohibition means in order to stop any power engross or any gross misuse of the power, in order to stop. Certiorari, it will draw that particular matter into the court sphere and the higher court will dispose the case thereof. That is what is certiorari. So prohibition, certiorari. Quo warranto means by what warrant? By what warrant? By what warrant you are sitting there? By what warrant you are occupying that office? By what warrant you are performing these duties like that? So if the police unnecessarily encroaching into the sphere of others, so if the legislatures unnecessarily encroaching the sphere of others, if any public authority unnecessarily interfere in other public authorities functions, so like that actually quo warranto could be used there. Fine. So Supreme Court is the authority to protect fundamental rights under Article 32. Now from Article 32 to 35 we will see some general provisions. For example, 33 says about fundamental rights could be restricted to some sections. For example, the officers working under the government, armed forces 1, or the forces like police and all, those are involved in the public order maintenance. Then a bureau of investigations like intelligence bureau CBI and all, any sections of any sections of employees participating in the telecommunication system or maintenance of communication between different forces like bureau, organization, referred, etc. So these people, no, they are not enjoying the fundamental rights that we are mentioned here. If there is some secrecy act, they need to maintain that. If that particular organization asking them to don't go beyond this region, they need to obey that. So their normal fundamental rights won't be extended to them. Article 34 says about martial law. So martial law means military rule. So in a particular region, if those regions set up their law and order all going outside the control of civilian authority, in that case military will involve there. In that case military will involve there. So military will involve and ask them to make control there and discipline in that area. So in these regions, whenever the martial law is existing in there, for example AFSPA you can take, Armed Forces Special Powers Act, it is a kind of martial rule. Military is ruling there, civilian authority is not existing there. Okay, such a grave condition is existing in that part of the country, that's why martial rule. So wherever this military rule is there, martial law is there, in those regions these fundamental rights one or all may not be there at all. Fine. And the officers in charge of maintaining the discipline, the decorum, the system in place there, they may actually violate many of your fundamental rights. So the punishment inflicted, forfeiture ordered, or the act done under the martial law in such areas, so that needs to be validated under that particular law itself. Article 35 says about the legislation related with the fundamental rights. So Parliament shall have the ultimate authority related with the legislation of these all fundamental rights related with prescribing the punishment for offences declared under this part. Then with respect to any of the matters mentioned in Article 16 clause 3, 32 clause 3 and 33 and 34 etc., etc., Parliament will have the power. State legislature has no power associated with these. Okay, so that's what about part 3. Now next thing what we need to study is part 4 is there, that is DPSP. I will discuss that in the next class. Here part 4A, that is fundamental duty, article 51A. Okay, so can you see the fundamental duties? Article 51A consists of 11 fundamental duties. So first one is abiding by the constitution and respecting its ideals and institution, national flag, national anthem, cherishing, following the noble ideals that inspired the national struggle for freedom, upholding, protecting the sovereignty, unity and integrity of India. So uphold, you need to protect the sovereignty of our country. You need to ensure that the unity and integrity of India is maintained. You need to cherish and follow the ideals, the principles kept by our freedom struggle leaders at that time. We should respect the national flag, national anthem, etc. And we need to defend the country and render national services when called upon to do so. If there is a grave crisis, for example, now corona situation is going on, if the government asking us, okay, whoever between the age of 18 to 23, enroll yourself as the COVID warriors and render national services related with the controlling of the pandemic means, then you have to do that. Promoting harmony and the spirit of common brotherhood amongst all the people of India. Okay, promoting harmony, peace, spirit of common brotherhood amongst all the people of India, transcending religious, linguistic and regional or sectional diversities. So linguistic, regional, sectional diversities you should transcend, you need to overcome that. Renounce any practices those are derogatory to the dignity of the woman. If it is derogatory, if it is insulting to the woman, you should actually renounce, you should throw out all your such practices. To value and preserve the rich heritage of the country's composite culture. So country's composite culture is there, you need to value that, you need to preserve that. To protect and improve the natural environment, including forest, lakes, rivers, wildlife, and to have a compassion for the living creatures. You need to develop scientific temper, humanism, spirit of inquiry and reform, safeguard the public property, and to abjure violence. You need to strive towards excellence in all spheres of individual and collective activity so that the nation constantly rises to higher levels of endeavor and achievement. So to provide opportunities for education to his child or ward between the age of 6 to 14 years of age. So this one added by 86th Amendment Act of 2002. The other are there, no? The other 10 fundamental duties, that's added by 42nd Constitutional Act of 1976. Clear? So fundamental duties. So some questions I have included here, you can just go through it. So the first one, try to answer it. Done. The fundamental duties, that is the duties we have seen just now in the Indian Constitution, inspired from whom? USSR, UK, Germany, France. It is from USSR. USSR means nowadays it is Russia, but earlier it is USSR. So USSR Constitution is was a socialistic one. So socialistic countries always have something kind of duties, because the socialistic countries always try to pressurize the citizens in order to perform the duties and giving them less right. But India adopted a middle path. So socialistic one also we need. That's why the duties from the USSR we have adopted and included within the Constitution. Try this one. Done. Which of the major democratic countries' constitution contains fundamental duties? Actually, majority of the democratic countries' constitution does not contain these fundamental duties. So none is the answer here. Australia, Germany, France, USA, their constitution not consist of any special provision called fundamental duties. So you can see this part from Lakshmikant. So fundamental duties in the Indian constitutions are inspired by the constitution of earlier USSR. Notably, none of the constitution of major democratic countries like USA, Canada, France, Germany, Australia and so on specifically contain a list of duties of citizens. So not containing at all. Japanese constitution, perhaps the only democratic constitution in the world, contains a list of duties. Japan option is not there in this also. So Japan is a democratic country with the socialistic one. So at the same time, the socialistic countries, when you take, they give more importance to the duties and somewhat equal in the case of rights and the duties. Hence the constitution of USSR declared that citizens' exercise of their rights and freedoms was inseparable from performance of their duties and obligation. Try to answer this. Done. The committee appointed to make a recommendation about fundamental duties in 1976. So I have told you, 42nd Amendment Act of 1976 inserted the fundamental duties, but that was as per the recommendation of a committee that is known as Sardar Swaran Singh Committee. Okay, so Sardar Swaran Singh Committee. Sardar Swaran Singh Committee, constituted for this purpose, recommended the inclusion of such a fundamental duty. In reality, the Swaran Singh Committee recommended more fundamental duties like payment of taxes, voting in elections, and he also recommended for penalty for whoever violating this fundamental duty, like giving imprisonment, fines and etc. But this penalty provision not included later on. Giving tax, voting and also avoided from this fundamental duty. Okay, try to answer this. Done. Have I read it properly? So which one of the following is not a fundamental duty? So not a fundamental duty is the question. That means of the 4 option, 3 are fundamental duty only. So safeguard of public property, developing scientific timber, defend the country in all wars, uphold and protect the sovereignty. We know defend the country in all wars, it's not my job, it is the job of the military, it's not my job. So that is not the answer here. So that is the answer here, that is not a fundamental duty. Okay, try this. Done. So which amendment added the 11th fundamental duty? So earlier I have told you 10 fundamental duties added by the 42nd Amendment Act. 11th one, that is related with the right to education, added by 86th Amendment Act of 2002. Okay, so what was that fundamental duty content? It says if you are a parent, okay, if you are a guardian, what you have to do? Your children or the ward you are taking care of must give education. That is a duty on you. Try this one. These are outside fundamental duties, but try it. Done. Done. So whose recommendation is mandatory to impeach the President of India from his office before the completion of his or her term? So if he needs to be removed, President needs to be removed from the office, parliamentary procedure is there. So in the two houses of the parliament, 2/3 of the majority of the members needs to pass a resolution for his removal. Then only the President stands removed there. So D is the answer there. These are wrong. So Article 61, that give you the details related with the impeachment of the President. Impeachment means removal of the President. So when a President needs to be impeached for the violation of the Constitution. So what is the reason? What is the reason for the removal of the President? What could be the reason? It is the violation of the Constitution is the reason. Okay, if for the violation of the Constitution, if he is removed, if he needs to be removed, it is through the parliamentary procedure. In both the houses, 2/3 of the members, 2/3 of the membership of the house needs to support such a resolution, then only he could be removed. Try this. Done. How many types of writs are there in the Indian Constitution? How many types of writs are there? 5 writs are there. We know the writs included in the Constitution. Article 32, Supreme Court can issue the writs in order to protect the fundamental rights. Article 226, High Court can issue these writs in order to protect the fundamental right. Yes or no? So 32 also, 226 also. So 5 writs like that: habeas corpus is there, mandamus is there, prohibition is there, certiorari is there, quo warranto is there. Okay, so these are the ones. Try this. Done. Part 4 of Constitution of India deals with which of the following? Part 4. Part 4, we know it is directive principles of state policy. A set of directions to the state government in the sense governments, central or the state, whatever it is. So a set of directions to the state while they are framing the policies, while they are implementing the policy. Okay. So these are set of directives. So part 4 is directive principles of state policy. Which articles? Article 36 to Article 51, because Article 12 to 35 it is fundamental rights. 36 to 51 is DPSP. 51A is fundamental duty. So remember that properly. Try this. Done. So how many fundamental duties are mentioned in the Indian Constitution? How many fundamental duties are mentioned? 11 fundamental duties are mentioned, 10 plus 1. So 11 is the answer, D. Okay, so these are the list of fundamental duties. Article 51A, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 up to 11. Okay, so these all added by 42nd Amendment Act of 1976. The last one added by 86th Amendment Act of 2002. Clear? Okay, try this. Done. What is the literal meaning of the term quo warranto? Okay, quo warranto means by what warrant, by what authority, by what qualification, by what notice, by what jurisdiction you are doing that. So by what authority or warrant is the answer C. Try this. Done. In Indian Constitution, the method of election of president has been taken from which country? Or simply the meaning of the election of president is there now in the Constitution. That is borrowed from which country's constitution is the question. Britain. A lot of features we have borrowed from British. I have included that. I will show you. USA also we have done. Australia also. Ireland also. But here the answer is Ireland or Irish Constitution. Just to go through this box once, then I will explain it. Okay, just to go through it. Done. Government of India Act of 1935. So Government of India Act of 1935, from that earlier constitution, I could say it is constitution itself, because during the colonial time, after the round table conference and all, they have brought this Government of India Act. It is almost like a mini constitution before independence. Okay, from that only we have borrowed the federal scheme, Office of Governor, Judiciary, Public Service Commission, emergency provision and administrative details and all. British Constitution, because the Britain was the colonial masters for us. When they left here, they have actually left their system also in place that we were more familiar. So we were more attracted to this than any other country's constitution. So this British setup, we have actually adopted many parliamentary feature, rule of law, legislative procedure, single citizenship, cabinet system, prerogative rights, parliamentary privileges, bicameralism, etc. Then US Constitution. So US Constitution, very strong features in our Indian Constitution adopted from them. For example, the fundamental rights in part 3, that is from the Bill of Rights contained in the US Constitution. Independence of the judiciary, judicial review, impeachment of the president, removal of the Supreme Court and High Court judges, and the post of vice president, all from this US Constitution. Then comes the Irish Constitution. Directive principles of state policy, the nomination of members to Rajya Sabha, and the method of election of president. So these all we have taken from Ireland Constitution. Okay, try this. Done. Who among the following gave the monistic theory of sovereignty? So sovereignty means we know the Paramadhikar. That means there is no one to control our country. Our country is completely free to take any decision. Whether we want to join with other countries, whether we want to trade with others, everything. For example, you know North Korea. North Korea is a sovereign country. They never wanted to trade with it. They never want to interact with the other world around. They can do that. It's okay. So here the Austin is the answer A. Austin, usually there is two sovereignty theory in political science, monistic and pluralistic. Austin came with the monistic theory. Try this. Done. Who administer the oath of the President of India? So oath of the President of India administered by the Chief Justice of India or the senior most judges of the Supreme Court. Similarly, the judges of the Supreme Court are there now. To them, the oath is administered by the President. The same thing you can take to the state wise. In the state case, the governor oath is administered by the Chief Justice of the State High Court or other senior most judge of the High Court. Okay, the judges of the High Court, for them the oath is administered by the governor. Don't forget it. Try this one. Done. Who among the following is the executive head of India? So executive head of India. So generally we think that the Prime Minister is the head of our country. But keep in mind one thing, the Constitution makes President of India as the executive head. But the real powers are rested with the Prime Minister. Or you can say de jure, as per the law, Constitution, it is the President is the head. By de facto, per fact, it is the Prime Minister is the head. Okay, so the answer here is President, because simply if they are asking means Constitution wise, statute wise, who is the head? It is the President. Try this one, read properly and to see. Done. Done. So which of the following are the constituents of Indian Parliament? Indian Parliament, I have told you earlier itself, Indian Parliament consists of Article 79, you can refer if you want. Indian Parliament consists of the President and the two houses of the Parliament, that is Council of States and House of the People. So 1, 2, 3, the answer is D. Try this one. So which of the following has the supreme command of the Indian Defence Forces? Which of the following has the supreme command of the Indian Defence Forces? That means what? Indian Defence Forces are there, no? Army is there, Navy is there, Air Force is there. So Army has its own head, Navy has its own head, Air Force has its own head. But these all heads are working under the command and control of the President of India. Their heads of chiefs appointed by the President, removed by the President. Okay, war declared in the name of the President and concluded by the President only. So per se, President is the supreme commander of Indian forces. The answer is D. Okay, try this. Anti-defection law is given in which schedule of Indian Constitution? Anti-defection law is given in which schedule of the Indian Constitution? We know that it's there in the 10th schedule. Anti-defection law, that's related with how an elected leaders could be prevented from doing this nasty horse politics and all, horse trade and all. So answer is B. Next one. So what is the literal meaning of certiorari? What is the literal meaning of certiorari? Certiorari, we know it is actually one way prohibition, it is one way a cure. So it is to be certified or to be informed to the higher court related with the proceedings happening with some specific cases and okay, because the higher court may interfere in the lower court matter related with some issues or some mistakes or some jurisdictional overreach and all happened by the lower courts. So certiorari, sometimes what the higher courts will do means they will draw that cases themselves and dispose it and give it, or they partially dispose and give to the court again to proceed with the rest. So certiorari is always a cure. Certiorari means to be certified. Try this. Then Who appoints governor of a state in India? Again, it is the President of India who is the executive head, who will carry out these all functions in the name of the Constitution. Try this. Done. So, which article of the Indian Constitution has provision for national emergency? So, national emergency is Article 352, everyone know. 352, 356, 360 are three emergencies. 352 is national emergency. So, how the proclamation of emergency could be done by the President? What are the reason for that? All details are given in this slide. You can read it. Try this. Who among the following is not a member of any of the two houses of our country? Who among the following is not a member of any of the two houses of the country, or any of the two houses of the parliament? You can make it like any of the two houses of parliament. So, Prime Minister, Finance Minister, Railway Minister. So, these are ministers. Ministers should possess membership in either Rajya Sabha or Lok Sabha. Maybe maximum up to 6 months they will get some exception and all, but within that they need to be a member. But the president is a person who won't possess membership in any of the houses. Okay. So see, try this. Done. Fundamental duties are mentioned in which of the following part of Indian Constitution? Fundamental duties are mentioned in which of the following part of Indian Constitution? Fundamental duties are there in part 4A. Try this. Done. What is the minimum age for becoming a governor of state in India? What is the minimum age of becoming a governor of state in India? Whether it is governor, whether it is president, whether it is vice president of India, all these need minimum of 35 years of age. So we know that 25 years is required in order to become a Lok Sabha MP, 30 years is required in order to become a Rajya Sabha MP. So similarly, governor, president, vice president is minimum 35 years. Try this. Under which article President of India can proclaim financial emergency? So earlier 352 national emergency we said, it is financial emergency, that is article 360. Okay, 360 provision as to the financial emergency. If the president is satisfied a situation has arisen, so president is the authority to declare a financial emergency, we understood. So whenever the financial stability of India or any part of the territory is threatened, the president can actually proclaim a financial emergency. Till now in our country, financial emergency not at all declared, even though we faced the gravest problem in 1990s. Try this. Under which article President of India can proclaim a constitutional emergency? So president's rule or state emergency, constitutional emergency, all mean article 356. Article C56 in case of failure of constitutional machinery of a state. So here also the president is the authority to declare that.